The time by Caracris is 6 p.m. and this is CBX Business News. The business news headlines are brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. Offshore hydrocarbon signals, an agriculture financing push, and Poland holds rates. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Wednesday, April 9, 2026. I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, United Oil and Gas reports thermogenic hydrocarbons offshore Jamaica with butane and pentane detected, strengthening the case for an active petroleum system. Also ahead, St. Vincent and the Grenadines seeks concessional financing to expand agricultural output. And later, the National Bank of Poland holds its policy rate at 3.75%, warning that rising oil costs could lift inflation risks. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Are you a business owner ready to grow your business through content? Or are you a content creator who is ready to transform your platform for real profit? Then you need to be at Grow Your Wealth 2026, hosted by Learn, Grow, Invest. On April 18th, we're bringing together entrepreneurs, creators, and industry experts for a powerful one-day experience under the theme Grow Your Business Through Content Creation. If you're serious about growth in 2026, this is your room.
Stay true to your vision, but at the same time, you need to be adaptable. At the end of the day, you need to proceed on the basis of integrity and transparency. It's not typical that an individual in the private sector would have those opportunities. If you have never run into trouble in business, you probably just haven't been in business long enough.
Caribbean dreams, instant turmeric tea. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now. Say bye-bye pain. Caribbean dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be good to you. Caribbean dreams, instant turmeric tea. Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Tease the Senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a potential breakthrough in Jamaica's offshore energy prospects. Jamaica's offshore oil ambitions have taken a major step forward as United Oil and Gas (UOG) reports the detection of hydrocarbons that could support a future drilling decision in the Walton Morant Basin. In a statement on Wednesday, the company says geochemical analysis from its 2026 seabed survey identified butane and pentane hydrocarbons in select piston core samples, compounds typically associated with thermogenic systems formed deep underground. That distinction is significant because thermogenic hydrocarbons are widely viewed as stronger indicators of an active petroleum system. United Oil says the findings build on a growing body of evidence offshore Jamaica, including repeat satellite slick anomalies, known oil seeps, and earlier well data, alongside modeling pointing to oil mature source rocks beneath the basin. The latest survey is also the first to be positioned using 3D seismic data, seabed mapping, and satellite-derived slick anomaly information, improving confidence in the geological interpretation. Chief Executive Officer Brian Larkin says the results provide an important input towards a drilling decision, adding that the Walton Morant license is estimated to hold roughly 7 billion barrels of prospective resources. A shifting business landscape following Hurricane Melissa is prompting calls for companies to diversify as disruptions expose the need for more flexible operating models. Acting CEO of the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, JBDC, Harold Davis, says while the core principles of entrepreneurship remain unchanged, the operating environment has evolved, requiring firms to rethink how they access markets and structure operations.
What has happened is that the landscape itself has changed. So the principles of entrepreneurship and the ethos and how it is that we do business, the core business, the core thoughts, the core methods really haven't shifted per se. Yes, we have to be looking at new technologies. Yes, we have to be looking at a different, perhaps, a way in which we operate our business. So if it is that the landscape has shifted, all that means is that we need to just pivot into new opportunities and if it is new inputs, new technologies that we need to be looking at to make sure that our business are climate smart, are green, are product resilient type of thing, is something that we need to be thinking about.
That was JBDC's acting CEO, Harold Davis. Mayberry Investments is preparing to bring new deals to market, with management indicating that at least one initial public offering IPO could materialize within the next 3 months. The update comes as the securities dealer points to a strengthening pipeline of transactions expected to support brokerage and advisory income. Mayberry Group CEO Gary Peart says the investment banking division is actively working on several opportunities, describing the outlook as containing exciting transactions that could move to execution in the near term.
We have a lot of transactions we've been carrying from before. We've been lucky enough to get mandated to continue doing those deals. But I'm aware that there are some exciting transactions in the pipeline. I would expect them to have at least one IPO within the next 3 months. I know they're busy working on that, which should continue that pipeline of fees and commission.
That was Mayberry Group CEO Gary Peart. In financial news, Guardian Holdings Limited is reporting a sharp surge in profitability, with earnings nearly doubling as the regional insurance group strengthened core operations and boosted shareholder returns. The company posted profit attributable to shareholders of 1.53 billion Jamaican dollars for 2025, up from $850 million in 2024, representing an 80% increase, while earnings per share climbed to $6.61 from $3.66 a year earlier. The strong performance was supported by improved core insurance operations, disciplined capital management, and gains from the sale of non-core assets, even as the business navigated market volatility and the impact of Hurricane Melissa. The group also delivered return on equity of 28%, up from 20% the previous year, signaling stronger profitability and capital efficiency. Despite investment market pressures, Guardian says its life, health and pension, property and casualty, and asset management segments all contributed to earnings growth, reinforcing the resilience of its diversified model. Shareholders are also set to benefit, with the board approving a total dividend of 91 cents per share, an increase of 14% over the 18 cents paid in 2024. And now to petroleum market news. Fuel prices moved higher today across most categories, with propane and butane the only exceptions. Gasoline prices increased by $4.50 for both 87 and 90 octane. Diesel prices also climbed, with automotive diesel and ultra-low sulfur diesel each rising by $4.50. Kerosene or heating oil also went up by $4.50. In contrast, cooking gas prices declined, with both propane and butane falling by $3.06. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 125 stocks, of which 45 advanced, 51 declined, and 29 traded firm. Leading the winners are First Rock Real Estate Investments, General Accident Insurance Company JA, Berger Paints Jamaica, and Proven Group. While leading the losers are MPC Caribbean Clean Energy, Pulse Investments, JMMB Group 8.50% USD, and Portland JSX. The main index declined by 1,343.55 points to close at 339,728.76 points. The junior market index also declined, but by 21.36 points to close at 3,292.35 points. It's time for the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. In today's Market Education feature, we're looking at the Community Reinvestment Act. The Community Reinvestment Act, or CRA, is a U.S. federal law passed in 1977 to ensure that banks and other depository institutions help meet the credit needs of the communities they serve, particularly low and moderate income areas. Under the law, federal banking regulators evaluate how well each institution fulfills this responsibility. These assessments are considered when banks apply for mergers, acquisitions, new branches, or other expansions. The goal of the CRA is to encourage responsible lending and improve access to credit within underserved communities. That was the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
We're here to open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for Save to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
This project marks the celebration of our 30th Hall of Fame and aims to highlight the achievements, challenges, and invaluable lessons of those who have shaped and are shaping the future of our economy. Our aim is to celebrate the voices and stories of 30 remarkable leaders in Jamaica's private sector. Join us as we explore these narratives of resilience, leadership, and vision.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is seeking new international financing to expand its agricultural sector as the government moves to position the sector as a key driver of economic growth. Speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, Agriculture Minister Israel Bruce says recent talks held in Nigeria have opened the door for concessionary funding to support farmers, expand production, and reduce fiscal pressures.
The fact remains that because our government has indicated that agriculture will be one of the critical pillars of economic development, being able to borrow into these facilities at rates that are not burdensome to the taxpayers of the country, but at the same time giving the agricultural sector a boost so that agriculture can contribute as we intend for it to contribute.
He says discussions also included engagement with the African Export-Import Bank as authorities seek additional development financing.
I had some preliminary discussions with the Vice President of Afrexim Bank whilst in Nigeria, and we have exchanged communication with the intent to further those discussions to see to what extent, again, Afrexim Bank could be a facilitatory instrument through which our National Development Bank could find seed financing for the agricultural envelope that would be within that bank.
That was St. Vincent and the Grenadines Agriculture Minister Israel Bruce. The chairman of the U.S. Export-Import Exim Bank, John Jovanovic, is set to arrive in Guyana this week as talks advance on financing for the country's gas-to-energy project. According to the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown, the visit will include high-level meetings with President Irfan Ali, private sector representatives, and project contractors. Officials say discussions will focus on the gas-to-energy initiative, which has already secured more than $527 million in financing from the Export-Import Bank. The project, the largest infrastructure development in Guyana's history, is expected to transform the country's energy sector. Once completed, it will double generation capacity, cut power costs by about 50%, and reduce carbon emissions by more than 460,000 tons each year. The development also includes a natural gas processing facility, a 300-megawatt power plant, and a gas pipeline. The U.S. Embassy says the visit underscores Washington's long-term commitment to supporting Guyana's energy security and future project financing. In other news, the Calypso Macro Index Fund is reporting strong final year results, even as the investment vehicle has now been fully wound down. Audited financial statements show total comprehensive income of about 30.3 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars in 2025, a major turnaround from a loss the year before. Net profit for the year came in at $27.9 million, driven by investment income and gains on financial assets. The report confirms the fund was terminated in November 2025, with all investment securities sold and proceeds distributed to unit holders. As a result, total assets declined sharply to just $3.2 million at year-end, down from more than $571 million in 2024. The fund's net asset value per unit also fell significantly, reflecting final payouts to investors. The financial statements were prepared on a non-going concern basis following the fund's full wind down. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall, market activity resulted from trading in 25 securities, of which 7 advanced, 4 declined, and 14 traded firm. Today's winners are Unilever Caribbean, JMMB Group, Massey Holdings, and National Enterprises, while leading the losers are Grace Kennedy, Ansa McCall, Angostura Holdings, and Prestige Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index advanced by 7.07 points to close at 1,343.11. The Composite Index advanced by 3.97 points to close at 934.52. The Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.09 points to close at 69.62. The SME Index remained at 91.16. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
If it were not for the Jamaica Stock Exchange listing, Phosphate Company Limited would not be where it's at today. I called them, they listened to my concerns and my fears, and they gave me the answers. All the fears I had about banks, about losing control, you are having them. And I tell you, they were dissipated when I spoke to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. This is one of the best decisions I have ever made in business. If you want to change the trajectory of your business and to grow, make that call today to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. You will be glad you did.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't never, ever, ever wanna calm down. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back. In international news, the National Bank of Poland kept its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 3.75% during its April meeting, in line with market expectations. Policymakers say fading optimism around the Middle East conflict has increased uncertainty in the inflation outlook, with limited chance of returning to the bank's 2.5% target before the end of next year. Headline inflation climbed to 3%, the highest level in 8 months. up from 2.1% in February, largely driven by rising fuel prices. Economic growth is also expected to slow in early 2026, following a 4% expansion at the end of last year. The central bank says future policy decisions will depend on incoming data, while highlighting risks from commodity prices, fiscal policy measures, wage trends, and fuel price regulations. Meanwhile, renewed geopolitical tensions are also weighing on European equity markets. European equities ended Thursday lower, giving back part of the previous session's gains as doubts emerged over the durability of the US-Iran ceasefire. The Eurozone Stocks 50 dropped 0.6% to 5,878, while the broader Stoxx 600 slipped 0.4% to 611. Tensions resurfaced after Iran accused the United States of breaching the ceasefire, raising fears that elevated oil and gas prices could persist, particularly as Tehran continued to threaten tanker traffic in the Persian Gulf. Rising bond yields pressured banking stocks, with Banco, Santander, BBVA, and Nordea each falling around 1.5%. Energy-intensive companies also declined, with Airbus and Siemens down more than 2%. Meanwhile, oil producers ENI and Total Energies rose over 3%. And in the United States, regulators are facing pushback over potential changes to community lending rules. The National Community Reinvestment Coalition, NCRC, is raising concerns about possible changes to the Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, warning they could weaken protections for low and moderate income communities. The coalition says regulators, including the Federal Reserve, may raise the small bank threshold, which would classify more institutions as small and reduce compliance requirements. Speaking at a public meeting at the Federal Reserve on Wednesday, NCRC Senior Policy Advisor Kevin Hill says the change could reduce financial support for underserved communities.
If the regulators choose to raise the small bank asset threshold, this will result in less private capital for needed community development projects that bring job opportunities, increase the supply and quality of affordable rental housing, finance medical facilities in lower income or rural areas, just to name a few examples of CRA activity that takes place around the country.
He added that with less private capital from banks, communities could face fewer resources, or local governments may be forced to shoulder more of the burden.
With less private capital from banks, communities that need these resources will either have to make do with less, or federal, state, and local governments will be forced to shoulder more of the financing. Either way, lowering CRA requirements means communities and taxpayers will suffer, and that burden will only increase the higher the small bank asset thresholds are raised.
That was Senior Policy Advisor for the NCRC, Kevin Hill. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
Stay true to your vision, but at the same time, you need to be adaptable. At the end of the day, you need to proceed on the basis of integrity and transparency. It's not typical that an individual in the private sector would have those opportunities. If you have never run into trouble in business, you probably just haven't been in business long enough.
FESCO started from 5 shareholders who believed that they could execute a fuel company as good as or as better than any multinational. The director shareholders always believed that the dealers within our network should be owners of the company. They believe that staff should be owners of the company. And specifically also believe that the public should become shareholders. That cannot be facilitated by a bank loan. Our experience so far has translated into additional customers, our transparency, has allowed us to access credit easier and at better rates. So if you're a private company thinking about growing your profits, having better access to capital, I really think you should consider listing on the junior or the main market. Go ahead, have that conversation as soon as possible. We did it and we were very happy.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, United Oil and Gas finds thermogenic hydrocarbons offshore Jamaica. Regionally, St. Vincent and the Grenadines seeks concessional financing to boost agriculture. And internationally, Poland holds rate at 3.75% as inflation risks rise on oil costs. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.